Beyond opinions is the glory of God.
There must be a better way.
In this video today, we're going to continue to go over my first published book, Hope for the Divorcee, Forgiven and Moving Forward. That's the book. And I'm going to touch on different aspects of this book. Obviously, this is not the ultimate reference for truth. The ultimate reference for truth is the Bible. And I quote the Bible in this book. I just put some topics together. And today I want to discuss the purpose and challenges of marriage. And when we talk about purpose here, it's going to be focusing on the Old Testament purpose of marriage and some of the challenges. Now, these videos are going to be short, so they are designed to kind of get you going and do your own study and your own research. Perhaps if I can provoke you to do that, that would be great. At the same time, the ultimate purpose for this video is to encourage those who have gone through divorce. And right now, perhaps you feel that it's over for you. Perhaps you used to minister before and you feel that you cannot minister again. Whatever the situation may be, that's what we want to focus here on, giving you hope. Hope for the divorcee. Now, Satan's attacks on marriage came from the very beginning. When you read the story of Adam and Eve, now check this out. Check this out. He went from "this now is bones of my bones and flesh of my flesh." That's what he said in Genesis 2:23. And from there, after the fall, the same Adam stated, "the woman you gave me." Look at the difference. When God gave him Eve, "this is now bones of my bones. This is flesh of my flesh." The excitement is there. But after the fall, now is "this woman you gave me." So he put a blame on the woman for the fall of man, and indirectly blamed God for it, because he said, "the woman you gave me." Adam never took responsibility for the fall. So from the very beginning, we see how Satan was able to get into this first marriage and cause division and cause problems within them, or among them, between them. In Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 8, we have a very strange story here. And I believe that this was another devastating blow against family. The Bible tells us here, "Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful. And they took wives for themselves of all whom they choose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. See how sin brings forth death. Now, when we see the fall of man, Adam and Eve immediately die spiritually. But they lasted 900 years. Okay? About 900 years. So that wasn't God's intention. God's intention was for them to live forever. But at that moment, they started dying. And that physical manifestation manifested hundreds of years later. In Genesis chapter 6, what they did, what mankind did during that time, it was so awful that now our days were cut short to 120 years. And what we see here, guys, is angels, fallen angels, taking the daughters of God, taking women, whomever they wanted, and take them as wives. And the result of that was, again, that our years were cut short. It says here in verse 4, there were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. This is what happened right before the great flood. And only Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives survived. 8 people, which 8 means new beginning. So we see this massive attack against marriage from the very beginning. And then as you read through the New Testament, you discover how bad relationships led to horrible consequences. And I point some of that out in my book. Now, when we talk about the purpose for marriage in the Old Testament, I find 3. Number 1, the multiplication of God's people. Okay? Number 2, to keep God's people away from the contamination of the rest of the world. And 3, to carefully guard the genealogy of our Lord Jesus Christ. The same thing that God told Adam. He gave him the command to multiply. That was the same thing that he told Noah after the flood, to multiply. So God is in the business of big numbers. God is in the business of multiplication. He wanted to fill the earth with people. That didn't change. Marriage was the way to do it. You get married, you have sex, and here come the children. Now, marriage also, among the people of God, was designed also to keep them away from the contamination of the world. They were not allowed to marry people from the rest of the world. This is not a free ticket for racism. It's because the rest of the world rejected God. The rest of the world hated God, were rebellious against God. And here God is preparing to create a people where he was going to show himself and his righteousness to the world. So here he started all over again with Noah. And then later on, he chose Abraham to form the nation of Israel. Now, this is very important because people have used these Bible verses through the years to justify racism. And this is not what it's about. It's God wanted his people to remain faithful to him. And he understood that when you engage in bad relationships, one of the first things that happen is that your relationship with God is affected. And we see this with Adam and Eve. Immediately after they sinned together, their relationship with God was affected. So then later on, when you see men engaging in bad relationship, in the wrong relationships, In Rome marriages, some of them got involved in many, many marriages. You see their relationship with God directly affected. Sin affects our relationship with God. And I think that one of the most powerful weapons that Satan uses is to go into marriage, to fool people into going into marriage with their own folks, and then you end up sad, depressed, angry, and your relationship with God is deeply affected. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 to 4, he said, when the Lord your God brings you into the land which you go to possess, and has cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and all those heights. He says here, and when the Lord your God delivers them over to you, you shall conquer them and utterly destroy them. Okay? Not only that God was building a new nation, we need to understand that, but God was judging the nations that already existed. He says here, you shall make no covenant with them, nor you shall show mercy to them, nor shall you make marriage with them. You shall not give your daughters to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons, for they will turn your sons away from following me, to serve other gods. So the anger of the Lord will be aroused against you and destroy you suddenly. Now, this is the reason why God wants us to engage in the right relationships. Bad relationships will always turn us away from God. So these are some of the challenges that we see from the very beginning. This is the purpose that we see for marriage in the Old Testament. Later on, we're going to discuss the purpose of marriage in the New Testament. Thank you and God bless.